Welcome to the Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast. This is the Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast. In this episode, we got my buddy Cody Idol to come back on here and talk about his new documentary, Antler Craze, which is the story of the General, the largest whitetail typical sheds ever found. The story is absolutely insane. We go through a lot of historical things, talking about that deer and other world record, world-class deer. Cody's a great dude, and this episode was a long one, but it was a lot of fun. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. I cannot wait to see all of you at the shoot this coming weekend at the time of this episode dropping. I made the video last week of the bow that we're giving away, and I'm pretty sure I went through the list of everything that is part of the giveaway. There's probably going to be some like last minute things that are added, which you guys will just see when you come, but I'm really looking forward to it. So before we get into it with Cody, I'm going to run through the partners real quick. The podcast is brought to you by Sportsman's Empire, which is the podcast network we have been under for a few months now. If you want a bunch of really good shows, head over to Sportsman's Empire and check out everything they've got. It's all hunting related. Some people actually find ways to, I guess, put in, stuff from their not their lives, but like stuff that is daily life related to hunting, right? So it's very interesting stuff. Next up is going to be Lone Wolf Custom Gear. Those are the tree stands that I've been working with and been using or really playing with the past couple of months. They're kind of a new partner, but the quality is unbelievable. So if you need new tree stands, before deer season pops up, head over to Lone Wolf. Let's see. Next up, Osseo Gear. That's the camo that I've been using for years now. Joe's going to be coming on sometime this month. Really can't wait for that one. The Boutique, best arrow wraps in the game. G5 Outdoors. I am running the Mega Meet this year again. Let's see, Prime Archery. I am running the Divide 31. Absolutely love that bow. Somebody at the shoot this coming weekend is going to win the new prime, or not the new, but win themselves a new Prime Form 30. Can't wait to see who gets that, man. And guys, remember, nothing aims like a Prime. Dialed Archery, Moultrie, Bow Hunting League, and this new one, Whitetail Champion. So if you're watching the video, you can see that I'm wearing the shirt and the hat. Whitetail Champion is a state-specific deer contest that the Bow Hunting League, Ben over the Bow Hunting League, he's started this. I'm actually a state representative for Georgia. Me and Alex DeBoard are both state representatives for the Whitetail Champion Georgia section, I guess. So if you guys want to join, it is $150 per person. It's a 3-man team, and the way that it works is if you join and you pay, so it's 3 people, right? So it's gonna be $450 per team. If we get a lot of teams to sign up, and say you go and you just have a stellar season and you guys win, like your team wins, you take that money, split it 3 ways, or I believe it's you take the money in the pot, which is what everybody's kind of paying towards, right? You pay the money, it goes into the pot. If you win, you get 75% of that and you split it 3 ways between you and your teammates. So it seems it's a cool thing, man. It kind of adds to the competitive side of things, which I typically don't go for, but the Whitetail Champion stuff, they are great group of guys, and I think it's going to be really good for all of us to sort of maybe put in that little bit of extra effort to kill that big buck that we're after this year. So go check them out if you want to sign up. Everything is linked in the description below. Let's see. Next up, Scrape Doctor. I'm going to be getting some more scrape stuff out soon. Victory Archery, Catalyst Archery, and Unbound Archery. So that's all the partners. Man, this episode with Cody was a lot of fun. I love talking, whitetail history, and Cody's kind of like whitetail royalty. His dad, Dick Idol, is a legend in the space. So it's a really good episode with Cody. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Or I hope you enjoy it. And man, before I sign off, I hear you guys always know I have to talk about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He is the only reason that I'm able to do any of this stuff, right? He's the only reason that I'm able to get through the tough times of life, right? Like today, pretty rough day. And, man, just what Jesus has done for me, even when I fall. I think that's the craziest thing. Me and TJ talked about it last week, is that, even when you fall, Like even when you sin and you willingly sin, and Jesus, if you come to him with a truly repentant heart, he's willing to forgive you. And that's just something that I still to this day struggle with, I guess accepting, right? Because we're all sinners, and what Jesus did for us, I can't thank him enough, and I owe my life to him. My life is his. So yeah, anyway, all right, that's preacher moment, that's intro. Cody was a great guest. He's always a great guest. So enough of me talking. Let's get into it with Cody Idol.
I'm gonna start like a still frame.
Yeah, there you go, man. Look, guys, we got hunting royalty in here with us again. I know he probably hates it when I say that, but it's true. And now he's a documentarian on probably the coolest, I'd say top three coolest deer that have ever existed. We got Mr. Cody Idol on the podcast again. And man, we were just talking about how long it's been, and I am so sorry it's been that long. But you're also extremely busy, so I feel like for the both of us, it probably feels like it was just yesterday that we did this.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you
Well,
for coming on, man. I'm glad we could do it, right? Because you got something really cool in the works, and we're going to talk about that today.
yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, thank you for having me, man. It's look, we talk about the whitetail fraternity. It's as long as we can jump on and talk about stuff we love, like, you're a member of it, I'm a member of it. Let's go. I
Yep.
love it.
No kegs in here though, at least not for me anymore.
Dang it.
I mean, we can. All right,
Uh,
we can get one. We can get one. As long as the general's, as long as there's a sticker of the general on the keg, I'll at least pull the handle.
Done
All
deal.
right.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. So, all right, before we get into what you've been kind of, or I guess what the big thing is, obviously you have a documentary coming out, but I want to talk about some stuff before that. So, what's been going on? What have you been up to since last time you were on here?
Man, honestly, like I started a podcast,
You
um,
did?
the Idle Hour podcast.
Oh, dude, hold on a second. Let me go follow that.
And we're only on episode 4 now, so it's not snazzy or anything, but very very happy to have that. And yeah, between the OG brand and
What's
the
it
I
on? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. What's the
not at
podcast
all.
on?
YouTube Idle Hour podcast.
Oh, okay. So it's not on Apple or anything yet?
Not yet.
Got
Dude, we just talked about how I don't do technology. I got to figure out how to get all my stuff on somewhere other than YouTube.
Well, I can help you with that if you want. I've got a very simple way to do it.
I would love
Um,
your help,
I
man.
got you. I
I'd
got you. I'll send
appreciate
you a link.
that.
Dude, all right, Cody, I gotta be honest, bro. I'm looking for it. And you know what's funny? I typed in the idle hour. I probably should type in podcast, but you want to know what popped up?
Mm,
You ever seen that movie K-pop Demon Hunters?
no.
You haven't seen it? Oh,
No.
dude. So it's this movie that like my wife and daughter made me watch, I think a couple years ago or something. It was huge, right? It's literally what it sounds like. It's K-pop and they're demon hunters. And I can't lie, the music's actually kind of catchy, which I hate because I'm not a K-pop guy. But the first the first three videos when I looked this up, actually the first five are all there's a song called Your Idol. That's all
Yeah,
that's on here.
I
Let me
know,
type in
man.
podcast. That's so funny, dude.
Look, this is how I date people. So when
There it
people
is.
go, "What's your name?" Cody Idol. I can tell you right now, if they're over 40, they're like, "Is Billy your cousin?"
Ah,
And if they're under 40, they're like, "Oh, like American Idol."
dude,
So
that's
like I
hilarious.
can place people, but dude, with a name like that, with a last name like that, we get that. It's every single
Yeah.
time. It's a cool last name.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it's crazy that like that's what everybody says.
So there's no relation to Billy at all.
I don't think that's Billy's name. I think
Oh,
I think
the
I think
stage
Billy.
name.
Yeah, Billy's got a stage name,
He's probably got some
but
crazy Polish name like me, like Chahovsky or something.
right. But ooh, someone just bought the film. Sorry, I'll turn the Shopify off.
Oh no, you're good. Should we dive into that?
Dude, we can do whatever you want to.
Okay.
It's your podcast, brother.
I really wanted to save it, but I'm so excited about this. So you've got it's a documentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have a documentary coming out on the general, and it's called Antler Craze.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this was kind of, I know you and I talked about doing this podcast probably like a month or two ago, I think. I know it was when I found out when it was actually coming out. I reached out to you. I was like, bro, I want to get you on and drop this the week of the documentary drop. So what I think you maybe talked about it a little bit on your last episode, but like what can we expect from this documentary? I guess what went into it?
Oh my gosh, man. Well, okay. So first of all, every person that was in the general story, other than two that are no longer with us,
Hmm.
those obviously those folks can't be in it, but we everybody that's actually been in the general story from 1959 till now is in the film.
That's crazy.
And then we went and we did some stuff with Lee Ellis, so he's in it. Trent Ellis is in it. Bill and Tyler Jordan, my dad. But like we go back and tell this 67-year-old story, man, and there's crime, there's law changes, there's drama.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the craziest deer stories ever. And yeah, we had to raise $1 million to make this film.
Man.
And
$1 million on $1 million deer.
yep,
That's nuts, dude. That should
yep.
be like the tagline or something. We spent $1 million on this to tell you the story of $1 million
Million
deer.
dollars on the deer, $1 million on the film, and
2 million in the hole, man.
yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
what's
this is
funny
an
is,
IOU. You're gonna
yeah,
want to hang on to that one. That's a pretty big
yeah,
one. That
right.
$2 million.
What's funny about the whole film thing is when I got wind of it, I remember texting you. I was like, "Hey, bro, if you're ever in the Atlanta area and you need someone to like fill a cast role or something, I don't act, but I can try." Because I was thinking, like, I knew there was a like you said, crime or something. And all I could think of was like, you know how in the old 19, I guess I don't even know, 20s or 30s, like gangster movies, where you always had like the main guy, like the boss, right? You know, like Don Corleone, who's like, you come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding, right? And I was thinking, I'm like, there's got to be a goofy guy that's in the gang, right? It was like, yeah, see, like that. I was like, dude, if you got anybody like that, call me. I will do it for free.
Right.
I'll happily. And I never heard back. So I'm assuming there's probably not a character like that in there.
Dude, which is crazy because like most of it was filmed in Georgia.
Ah, it
Because
kills me, man.
Copeland, Caleb Copeland, Copeland Creative,
Yeah.
they do like the Dude Perfect show. They do most of the Seek One stuff. He's located, oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget the little town. It's like 40 minutes south of Atlanta.
Is it like
Um,
Forsyth or something?
it's not far from there, yeah.
Okay. I
But
didn't know that.
yeah, they're making the whole thing, and that SWAT
Huh.
scene, all that stuff was in Georgia.
That's so sick.
Um, but dude, it's just been so much fun because I feel like nothing has been done like this in the whitetail world
There
ever.
hasn't. The closest thing is Legendary Whitetails, and that's like a 5 minute episode, you know?
I just don't. I really am like. So when I started, I'll let you in on a little fun thing. When so in 2023, I was up in Canada shed hunting with my dad and my brother, and we're just sitting there at the lodge one day having a beer, and my brother's like, "Hey, I think there's there's a lane, there's something here with you and whitetails."
Yeah.
And I'd never done anything on social media. I was like, "Well, um, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, look, hold on. Let's go back to the like the appreciation of whitetails." He's like, "You are Cody Idol at the end of the day," which is funny
Yeah.
because that meant nothing to me.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Yeah, I get it. Dad's dad, and we have a whitetail family." And he's like, "You should just share whitetails."
Yeah.
And the reason I tell this whole story is because I literally from that day went and did like a goal session and was like, you know what? I'll go share some whitetails and just see what happens. We don't know, but like I don't know, like this industry feels like in a funny way it's gotten really huge, and in a different way it's like this big.
It's
Like
so small. In the
nobody's
grand
doing.
scheme of everything, it's so small. And I've just realized that this year.
Yeah.
Like, but you can also you have the opportunity with this to bring more people in because people see deer every single day. I saw a little 2-year-old buck yesterday. I saw a doe this morning on the way to work. I mean, the thing is, like, my in-laws, they were pointing some deer out to me in the field on Saturday when we were driving to my brother's birthday dinner. And I just sat there and I was like, man, I just love deer. And they were like, yeah, we love deer too. I was like, and then September rolls around and it's like I hate them. You know what I mean? Like, it's joking, right? Obviously I don't hate them, but
Yeah.
this film I feel like can really sort of show people that there's more to deer and deer hunting than just what people perceive hunters as, like Elmer Fudd's or whatever. I feel like that's kind of the general, no pun intended, but like the general consensus or idea or viewpoint of hunters. A lot of people think we're just out there, hunting rabbits or whatever. And it's like that's not what it
Yeah.
is. And this story is going to help sort of change that viewpoint, I think.
Man, this the the reason I'm so excited about this is like I told someone the other day, someone's like, "How nice is this film?" I said, "It's the cinematography is better than like the first Planet Earth."
Oh wow.
I was like, "It's we there is no stops that
Yeah.
block this from being, the best it could be, but it's also just different than anything that has been done in this whitetail world. It's
Yeah.
never nothing like this has ever been done, man. I told a friend earlier, I said I don't care about the social reaction to the film. I'm just honored. It's like a bucket list item to get to like do something like this
Yeah.
and share it. And I can't believe it's real. Because I'll tell you, man, uh, last year after the $1 million transaction for the general, we had Copeland and those guys call us and go, "Hey," because we were gonna make like a 30-minute YouTube video for this.
Yeah.
And they called us up and they said, "Hey, we got a different idea. Let's go to the next level of production." And we got a Netflix director and all this stuff. But they were like, "Let's do this."
Yeah.
Which in the meeting, I was like, "That's amazing." They also told us there was a minimum like $450,000 production budget to do something like this. So I get off the phone on that call, and then Josh calls me back and he goes, "Hey, what do you think?" And up to this moment, I was like, "Dude, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard." But in my head, I was like, "It's not real. We're not,
Yeah.
there's no way that's happening." So I
Yeah.
said, "Man, it's so cool." And I immediately started telling him things, ways that I could like raise money.
Yeah.
How do I? And he goes, "No, no, no, no. Like, I'll cover it." And
It's
in
so
that
crazy.
moment, dude, I was like, "This is a real thing.
Yeah.
This is
It's a
really
reality.
gonna happen."
Yeah.
And so what's been so cool about this is like I've gotten to include my family. Dude, my dad's in it. I got to fly my dad out and do like parts of the film with him.
Yeah.
And my dad named him the general. Like this whole film, whatever happens at the end of the day, I can't believe we got to do this. Like I
Yeah.
can't believe we got to actually put this together.
Did you ask your dad, like, sort of reflect on it and be like, hey, so when you first found these sheds, like when you first got your hands on these sheds, did you ever think that it was going to turn into this type of thing? Like it was going to end up being a movie one day?
Well, so little backstory, he gave him the name the general.
Yeah.
It was known as the Nebraska Giant up to found in 1959. Um, up into so they put him and David Morris put him on the cover of North American Whitetail magazine in 1996, December of 96.
Yeah.
And up until then, the world didn't know about him.
Hmm.
So, but what's crazy is like Cabela's when he did that sculpture in Minnesota that has the general and the Francis Fink buck.
Yeah.
They came to him and said, "We want one big non-typical and one big typical, like world class, both
Yeah.
that you do." And he said, "I can get the Fink buck, no problem, but like the general is going to be a problem because it's illegal to pick up sheds still in Nebraska." But they end up doing the deal. They end up getting it done. They got laws changed, and Jim Cabela actually got the law changed in Nebraska so my dad could buy that.
Crazy.
That
That's still so hard to like think that you literally changed the law for some sheds, man. It's
but
of all the things.
yeah, so Tim Condict is the guy that reportedly most people think might have cut the kickers, which
Yeah.
I'm indifferent on this. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But Tim Condict acted as the broker, and my dad bought the general on behalf of Cabela's,
Mhm.
and they paid him $60,000 in 1996 for that set. The guy that found him, Ben Barnhart, just a what year and a half earlier sold him for $3,000 to Brad Zell. And then so Brad Zell and Tim Condick sell the antlers to my dad and Cabela's for 60,000 plus Tim Condick actually had first right of refusal on them. So he started like bidding on them against my dad. So they gave him $3,000 to like bow out of the thing. So the final
Yeah.
deal for Cabela's was 63,000. And so it was on the money 30 years. My dad sold it for 63,000, and 30 years later I sold it for 1 million. But we got to do like the father son, the two biggest transactions in the history of
Yeah.
whitetails.
It was like the handoff kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, dude. So this episode is going to drop next Tuesday. So if there I kind of want to do a little bit of a deep dive on what to expect, like where, maybe for the people who don't know or just listen, and maybe they didn't even know this was coming out. Where can they find this documentary at?
Okay, so all transparency, it's getting shopped to streamers. So hopefully the final destination's Amazon or Netflix, Hulu. I'm hoping for Netflix, but the interim, there's 3 episodes,
Okay.
and episode one's gonna come out on our website on July 4th.
Love it.
And you can go on there and get the episode at $7.
Okay.
You can rent it, and then we send it to you on the 4th. And then on August 4th, episode 2, September 4th, episode 3.
Oh, so you're not dropping it all at once.
No, sir. Yeah.
Got it.
No, we're
Okay.
we're and each one's about 40 or 44 minutes, 43 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that. And
Dude, that's gonna
um
drive me crazy. I'm gonna watch the first one and be like, all right, Cody, can I get like an early access or something, bro? I'll pay you $14. I need to see this. Like,
dude, I
it's
just
crazy.
watched episode 2 last night for the first time.
Oh wow.
The production side of this has been so eye-opening.
Yeah.
I can't believe how big the just I mean, man, everything you want to do, it doesn't matter if you're like, hey, we got to run over here to Oklahoma and go film this 30-second thing. It's like we got to fly 5 people there. We got to rent lodging. We got to get all the equipment there. It's like this thing that's going to be a 5-second snippet of the film is $35,000 to go do. And we've been doing this for a year. We've got 18 interviews,
Yeah.
150 hours of footage of interviews. We've traveled all over the country. Dude, it's crazy what it
So
takes to actually like make this thing.
why couldn't if you guys film most of it in Georgia, you couldn't find a place in Georgia that looked kind of like Oklahoma? If that was the need, like why Oklahoma?
Well, so Tim Condik's from Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
We had to get there to part of his interview. We did a lot of the interviews in Kansas at the Antler Lodge where Josh that bought the General,
Yeah.
that's his lodge there, but it was a very neutral site for there's like 20 people that were east and west of that place, but it was
Yeah.
easier to get them all there,
There. So is
so
Tim Condick still alive?
he is. He's in the film.
Oh, dude. So did you had to have asked him, like, hey, did you shave it? I mean, that has to be a question.
He swears up and down that he didn't do it.
So
Which
crazy.
so let's go back to the dates real quick.
Yeah.
So, um, 1995 in March, when Tim Condict and Brad Zell got the general from Ben Barnhart,
Mm-hmm.
who found them.
Mm-hmm.
He found them in 1959. This is 1995 in March, and we've got photos with the timestamps on them showing March 95.
Yeah.
When they sold them to him, there's no stickers. Well, let me go back. I almost said that wrong. Those old Ben Barnhart, Bill Sainer photos, we call them the Sainer photos. The
Yeah.
stickers are in there. That's March 1995. My dad buys them in 96,
Mm-hmm.
and they go on the cover in December of 96 of North American Whitetail, no kickers. So we've got a March 95 to December 96 stretch. Now, they went from Tim Condick to Tom Sexton,
Mm-hmm.
who's one of the most renowned antler repair guys and replicators in the
Mm-hmm.
world. We interviewed him, and in the interview he goes, "No kickers when they got to me. In fact, they'd already been like repaired."
Huh.
So this thing has like a maybe like a 4 to 6 month window. In
Yeah.
67 years, there's like a 6 month window that this could have happened. Tim Condick, though, the crazy thing is he has no reason. He wasn't even the guy that was buying them when they first bought
Mhm.
them. He didn't have any reason to do this.
Yeah.
Like, if he was going to be the one that cut them, why? He got 3 grand
Yeah.
for brokering the deal. He doesn't give a darn. Like what's the reason Brad Zell, who has passed on, that did buy him first? My dad knew Brad extremely well. And he's like,
Yeah.
Brad didn't care. He didn't enter stuff into the book. It wasn't There would be no reason that he would have done it. But this is very confusing, man, because we're talking about one of the most famous deer in the world, and someone cut 2 kickers off. We can't figure out why.
Well,
Well, we
there,
know maybe
I
why.
was gonna say I could give the reason why, because the higher score. I
I'm
mean,
saying like why based off of each person, right? Like
yeah.
who had a why that was big enough in the 90s, and especially the mid 90s, deer weren't valuable enough for people to even think that way.
Yeah.
And maybe there was some notoriety and stuff that you could gain from having a giant, but like not enough to like really like these days. Obviously, we know the dollar figures that come
Yeah.
from these things.
Yeah. Deer are definitely more valuable now than they were 30 years ago.
Yeah, and if somebody thought they had the new world record typical, bro, cut those things off.
Well, we
I
we
don't
know a
mean it. I
guy.
don't mean that, but you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
like,
It
uh,
makes me think, like, because I've got my Sherlock Holmes hat on right now, right? Like you were naming all these guys. I'm like, all right, well, if Tim's denying it, where's Brad in all of this? But if your dad knew Brad and Brad didn't care, then Brad probably didn't do it either. So then it goes back to Tim. And my thing is like, it's granted, look, I was born in 95. Okay. So I didn't really, I've done research, I've looked at history, I know about the history of bucks back in the 90s, but I was like 4 years old when I even found out what the Rampolla buck was, right? And then I saw the
mhm.
Hanson buck, and I'm like, oh man, deer can get pretty big, and so that's what got me into it. But I know even back then, the Hanson buck and stuff. He was popular in the deer hunting community, but if he went to sell that deer, he wouldn't have gotten what he did get when he did eventually sell it. So like, I kind of I kind of agree, but I also think that you and I both know a lot of hunters, it's a pissing contest for them. So I could definitely see somebody. I'm not saying Tim, I'm just saying someone whoever did it, I could see them being like, "All right, I'm going to shave these off because I understand the scoring system. I'm going to show up with a 220-inch typical that is bigger than anything anyone's ever seen. They're never going to know that it was a 216-inch typical, right? So or 218 or whatever it was. Um but again, it's like who did it? The time frame is really, really small. And the only thing that makes sense to me is maybe at some point in transport, the rack got damaged and they were like, well, we can't showcase this. Let's just cut these off. That's the only thing that would make sense to me. But you look like you know something that I don't. I'm like,
Well, no,
I'm
I
fishing
don't
here.
know. I don't know that I. So there were two speculative things that you probably haven't heard a lot. One was Ben Barnhart gave the sheds to his son, who lived out
Okay.
of state. So there was early on there was this speculation that maybe he sent them to his kid
Hmm.
because when he did go to sell them, he did consult with his son first.
Uh-huh.
Like, can we do this? Um, but then there was this other thing that nobody knows. There was like you know how some small towns out west do like a wagon days,
Yeah.
whatever weekend kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was a festival in Sargent, Nebraska there, and Ben Barnhart took the general and like handed it off and didn't get it back for like 5 days. And it was passed around the whole town.
Huh.
And it was featured in the festival days and all the stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but you know what's funny is one time, gosh, I'm gonna say this on a podcast. Josh called Tim Condit,
Uh-huh.
and Tim didn't know that I was on the line. So it was on speakerphone. So I was just sitting there.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I did not like, or I couldn't get my mind around, was he goes, "So did you cut him?" And Josh is like, he paid $1 million for the general. He's like, "I don't care if you
Yeah.
did or you didn't. I'm not accusing. It doesn't matter if you did or you did not. There's not. It doesn't change anything."
Yeah.
So Tim's like, "Nope, I swear on my life, like I didn't do it." And then he's asking him all these questions, and every question is like on point. Like he's sharp. He knows the answer. Then he goes, "Well, what, who do you think cut the kickers off?"
Yeah.
And he got way lost. He's like, well, he the we. So I mean, I guess my cousin had it for like a week, and
Huh.
I don't know. Like he just really went off the
Yeah.
rails, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, like the every other part of this story was so calculated and specific, and when we got to that, it was like all over the place, and he acted like he had like amnesia,
Yeah.
and so I don't know, but again, I still go back, and he's in the film. He
Yeah.
offered to wear, he offered to wear a prison orange jumpsuit in the film, and it just
Why?
didn't fit with what we were doing. But
That's funny.
I'm kind of like, man, I want to shake him a little bit and just be like, look, even if you did, who cares? Just
Yeah.
share it.
What I
But
bet it is, I'll tell you right now, I bet that he knows who did it. And when you ask him, did you shave it? He can say no because he didn't do it. He probably had somebody. I'm not saying he had someone else do it.
Mhm,
Obviously, somebody did, right? So what
mhm.
I would say would be that he probably knows who did it, and maybe there was a conversation saying, "Hey, this could be something. Like it's obviously an impressive deer, right? And even in the 90s, before say they never shaved it, the score still beats Milo's buck, so it's
Yep.
still bigger. So I mean, maybe there was a conversation one night around the campfire, maybe around a grill, maybe a couple beers were drank, and the guys are like, we could make this thing bigger if they understand the scoring system, which I'm sure they did. And maybe that week while I was at his cousin's place or his son's place or whatever, maybe it got cut. Maybe they don't remember who cut it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it sounds like to me. Is that he knows
Yeah.
he just doesn't want to rat the person out, which I mean, I get it. It doesn't really matter. It's a buck, it's a deer. Like the story itself is so cool. It would almost it's honestly kind of like the Rompola buck. It's like we just want to know. No one's gonna be mad at you. We just want to know.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing. Yeah, we go back on both these deer. I mean, first of all, Tim actually did come back and say, we asked him in the interviews, did the general have kickers in March of 1995 when you walked into Ben Barnhart's house? And he couldn't remember. He just said,
Mhm.
I now in his defense, 95, man, it's been over 30 years.
It's literally
He
31 years, man.
Yeah. And he walked in there and he goes, for the life of me, I cannot remember if they did or they didn't. And it didn't matter back then. Like that was no bearing
Yeah.
on anything. Um, Now, it's funny, man. I'm gonna give you a little teaser that I haven't shared yet.
Okay.
We're gonna pull a bunch of stuff out on Rompola here very soon.
Oh, thank God, dude. Please, Cody, Cody. Now look, I already accidentally put you on the spot about the role in the movie, right? It's all good. If y'all do anything with that deer, please, I'll whatever I can do to be involved because that deer, I, that was my childhood. To me, that was like the pinnacle of whitetails. So if y'all do anything with it, I will do
You
whatever you
want to
need.
be in the Rompola film?
Bro, I'll be Mitch himself. What you mean? I'll work on my Michigan accent and everything. I'll wear the hat. I'll wear green. I don't remember if I think he had a beard, so I can probably pull that off. I'll dye it salt and pepper. Well, I will literally kill a doe and buy fake antlers and screw them on there if I need to. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, dude,
Dude, that's so sick.
we're like, so the thing that this whole filmmaking side has brought out has been, um, dude, let's tell the stories. And
Yeah.
actually, I had a really cool conversation with my dad, who has written over 400 articles in North American Whitetail recently, and I said, I want to tell the stories too, but like we can't tell them the way that you told them.
Yeah.
We can't. It's not the same thing anymore. We're not going to get to the audience with a. Now I say all that. I'm writing articles too. I just finished an article for Whitetail Times magazine that comes out in like 2 weeks about the general. Um, I love writing too, but like that's not the way that we're going to get to the audience.
Yeah.
So we have to dive in. Now I never thought like the OG brand would become like a production company, but that's what it's becoming.
Yeah.
But like, I feel so blessed because we can actually go tell these stories the way they need to be told, which
Yeah.
I never thought in my entire life, I never thought I would see that in the whitetail world.
Well, I mean, you have like I said earlier, legendary whitetails. When I was first getting like after I started hunting and I wanted to start learning more about the history of the deer, because you see them, right? I mean, you see the hole in the horn buck, you see the Jordan buck, the general. I'll even throw Mitch's buck in there. You see these deer and you're like, I wonder what the story is about that, right? And then you go on, like I looked up, just giant whitetails, world record whitetails. And I remember finding legendary whitetails where they would interview the people and they'd show the buck and you hear some of the story, but it was like a 7-minute video. And so in an hour, I've already gone through all this. I'm like, dude, there's got to be more than this. And so the fact that you guys are doing that really, really gets me hyped up because I could probably name 5 deer off the top of my head that I want to hear the full-fledged from start to finish story on. And I have a feeling that obviously in time, because this stuff takes time and money and a lot of people that were involved probably passed away. But I have a feeling you guys are going to end up doing that. Like I can see in the next 10 years there being a hole in the horn documentary, a Jordan Buck documentary. What's the one? It's like the Wrath Buck or something like that. I think that
Yeah, James Rath.
yeah, like those types of deer. There's one you actually have on your Instagram. I would love to see. Get the name of it. I think it's from Manitoba, but it's this crazy non-typical. It's got like two huge drop tines on the side coming off the main beam. I forget the name, but
Are
um,
you talking about the Neil Morin buck?
think so.
He's from Alberta, but he's got crazy brow tines too.
I think I'd have to go on your Instagram and look, and I could tell you. But dude, just your Instagram alone, like all of those deer. Just do a documentary on all those deer. Minnesota Monarch, Missouri Monarch, all those guys. Like
Yeah,
that to me. is what we need because, the younger generation, I'm not really part of it anymore. I hit 31 this year, so I'm out of that. I'm one of the old guys. My niece called me Unc the other day. So, yeah. And but the younger generation needs to know like, hey, this is what you're standing on. If you get into hunting, these are the people that
Mhm.
paved the way. These are the deer that paved the way that when you're out there looking for a big buck, if you're anything like like I was, like I'm sure you are, um, or I shouldn't even say was. I got another Cody calling me. That's funny. Um, these deer are what we dream of. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't tell you how many dreams I've woken up from where I'm hunting a 300-inch deer. Never even
Mhm.
seen one. And what's funny is I could lay out the entire topography of it for you, and it's not even a real place. Like that's how tuned in I am to like, okay, this deer is here. And one day or night, really, I'm gonna dream about that deer and end up killing it. And it's like that type of stuff. That's what these big deer do. And for you to be making a documentary about one of the most famous deer that's ever existed, dude, this is just the start. And I'm so excited about that. So
Yeah, I
I can't
appreciate
wait,
that.
bro. I really can't wait. I mean, if like I said, if you do one on Rumpola, that's going to be very interesting because you and I both know the history of that deer, and I've heard so many rumors. I've given up trying to figure it out. I mean,
I want to, you know what's funny too is like the best way to go make that film is to sit right in the middle on neither side of the fence.
yeah,
I know the foundation, the people that are running the fan page and all that stuff, they've got a ton of information. I love that I don't like I've told someone asked me, I think I did the legacy on through land podcast recently, and he asked me like, what are your thoughts? And I said I'm a big fan of giant deer.
yeah,
I have no reason to want it to not be real. I but like so like let's go ask the questions and do the interviews. I had someone write me the other day that said they've had it x-rayed. His son wants to release it, but Mitch will never do it when he's alive, so his son's planning on doing it whenever he's not around. And like I would just rather tell the story. It's such a I don't like I my dad and I don't agree on this. We talked the other day and he goes, yeah, you just leave that one alone kind of thing. And I said, I can't.
yeah,
We what other story? This has to maybe be the biggest story in the history of whitetail hunting.
yeah.
It has to
Because we don't know. And that, like, I was listening to, I think it was the Antlers by Klaus episode on Working Class the other day, and they brought it up. And I forget what Klaus said, but I don't think he said anything about it like being fake. Like, I think there was something in there about how I'd have to go back and listen, but it sounded almost like he thought it could be legit. And I was like, man, look, 2 years ago, I would have been posting all over. I'd have been talking about it on podcast. Every episode I'd have brought it up and be like, man, Klaus thinks it's real. But and I could be misquoting him too. I mean, it's been a week and a half, but a deer like that story is still on the YouTube page, the most commented video I've ever had. And
Bro, look,
people,
we have a deer that we don't know about for sure. And this story is 30 years old. And
yeah,
it's still the most discussed thing. There have been billions, literally billions of deer that have come along in our history.
yeah,
This one deer, and now if it's fake, it's the most incredible ruse that
yeah,
anybody's ever pulled.
you got
If
to
it's
respect it.
real, if it's real, it's the coolest story ever.
And probably one of the gnarliest looking deer I've ever seen because
Hmm.
I've seen Texas deer. I mean, look at the general even. I mean, he's stupid wide, but he doesn't come off the side of the head. Like that's the one thing about that deer that whenever I see a picture of it, I kind of just look at it. I'm like, dude, if that thing was real, what did that look like walking through the woods? I mean, it's literally unlike any other deer that's existed if it's real. If it's fake, I respect the game. I do. because you had this story going for 30, almost 30 years.
That's
So,
what I mean. I respect at this point, even if it's not real,
yeah.
I do respect what they did. This is strategically, this is the most incredible story that has, and dude, it's not a distant, like every once in a while somebody says something. This is still the most talked about
Oh, yeah.
story, period.
Anytime I've noticed a trend, anytime somebody that works in like taxidermy or like with you, where you tell the story or post deer from the past, anything like that, it always comes up. I
It
mean, I find myself even bringing it up with where it's not related to whatever the podcast episode is or whoever I'm talking to. It just comes up. So it is kind of crazy that we still 30 years later don't know. So the fact that you guys are kind of like you're thinking about working on it or something, that man, I've heard so many rumors through over years now of Mitch is still alive and he's still killing big bucks, or Mitch is dead and his son's got it, or it burned up in a fire, or it was all fake because there's the replica that's in the Michigan Outdoors building. And I'm like, bro, at this point, I've always said we're never gonna know, right? Like I've had a friend of mine go to Mitch's house and knock on his door and literally get the door slammed in his face because he just doesn't want to talk about it. So it almost seems kind of like that forbidden fruit sort of deal, which I hate to say it that way, right? Especially with our faith being in who it is, but it's like you just want to know. I just
Mhm.
it's 30 years later, man. If Mitch on his deathbed made a video, was like, "Hey, I killed that big buck." It's like, "Okay, was it fake or not?" Oh yeah, if he doesn't even have to explain it. He could just come out and be like, "Yeah, it's all fake." Okay. Well, good job on fooling all of us or a lot of people for 30 years, man. That I would shake his hand, be like, you did a good job. Sucks that it's fake.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like story itself. It I agree. It's probably the biggest story in whitetail history. Like,
it's crazy. I I really don't know. Now, I can't look back and say, was it planned? Because I think let's say hypothetically right now for a second that it's fake.
mhm,
It's the whole structure of the story and everything is great, and they did it. Now, could they know that it would be this big 30 years later? I don't think there's any way they
no.
understood or knew. It's just, dude, it's just gotten bigger and bigger. And again, this goes back to like what we're doing with the film
Yeah.
now. I I called my dad the other day and I said, I can't believe how many things that I've done in the last 2 years in the whitetail space
Yeah.
that I am looking at and I've go, why has nobody done this? Like, why has nobody done this? And so, like, in a lot of ways, I think that space is underrepresented.
Yeah.
There's millions of people that love it, but there's a finite, tiny amount that are actually like representing it, and
Mhm.
most of them are hunters that are have a show or they're whatever. But like, we don't have deer stories.
Yeah.
We don't have someone that jumps on that actually has a production budget that goes, hey, look, this is the craziest shit you've ever heard. Like nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
We need someone to do that. And I'm not
Yeah.
nominating myself to do that, but like
Well, I'll
y-
nominate you.
I appreciate it. I love telling the stories, man, and that's
Yeah.
what's so cool. It's funny because deer, just like anything else, are such you know, a pissing contest in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And it's funny people talk trash to me. I shared the Helgi Imanson buck on a different outdoor page the other day,
Yeah.
and there was like 20 people that were like, "Why did you share this? Are you trying to get attention from this? Are you trying to steal his thunder?" And I'm
What?
like, it's a deer page. You got
Yeah.
we, and not only that, Helgi's a friend of mine, and I'm selling that deer right now. Like I've literally had that deer in my hands recently, and I was sharing this deer, and they're like, why would you share it? You didn't kill it." And I'm like, "Nope, I didn't." Uh,
What was his last name?
look up Alberta's hole in the horn, the Helgi Imenson buck.
Oh, I think I know. I
He's a
think I know
two
this deer.
280.
Oh, dude, this is the deer I was talking about.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that's
God,
Alberta.
so sick.
Yeah, that deer is for sale right now if you want it, by the way.
I can put $1 down.
Well, you'd be $340,999 short.
That's about the price of my house. So wish I could. Do y'all take after death payments by any chance?
We do.
Is there?
We do.
Oh, really? Okay.
We
Well, I
do.
mean, let
Well,
me check my credit score. I'll get back with you.
sign me up for your
Um,
life insurance policy and just
yeah, Cody, you can have my house, my dogs, my bows, all my cars, whatever my daughter buys, her house. Yeah, we'll sign everything.
you're like, look, you can't have my kids, but you can
Yeah,
have
you can
everything
have
else.
whatever they own, just not them. That's hilarious. Yeah, I just see that's the thing though, is like I feel a shift happening, right? Because Hanson's bucks sold for 1 million, right? Or right about at it.
I've heard that was highly discredited. I know it
Oh,
was a
okay.
good number.
Yeah.
Here's what I know. They went to Bass Pro. He was in poor health
Yeah.
and said, "This is what we want." I talked to the guy that bought him on behalf of Bass Pro. He didn't tell me the number.
Hmm.
And then later, I heard the rumor of $1 million. But then later, somebody personal that I won't share, they
Yeah.
showed me text messages from Milo's wife that was like, people say it's 1 million. It wasn't even close to that, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
So
Dude, that sucks. If that's true. Like that really
now on defense of Bass Pro, it sounds like they accepted whatever number the Milo Hansen family threw out.
true.
So that's what they told us. It's that they wanted this much. We said yes. So it wasn't like they didn't lowball them or anything. I'm sure, man, I'm sure it was 300K or 400K. I mean,
Yeah.
it was still a good number, but it just wasn't. Now we were looking at it at first because we got this film coming out, and the
Yeah.
title is Antler Craze, America's $1 million deer. We're like, we heard that rumor, and we're like, is there another $1 million deer?
Yeah.
You know,
Like we need to know this before we
yeah, that's important.
yeah.
So I
Be a
did
Rompola
some,
situation all over again.
yeah, dude. If Ron Polo was real, if the person that knows is watching this podcast when this comes out, bring me the Rompola buck. I'll get you $3 million for it. I promise. Come on.
Bro,
Like it'll be the biggest story in the history of whitetails if that deer turned out to be real.
that's great. That's wild. That's wild to say. The point that I was getting at before we start throwing numbers out like that, what I was getting at was like I've noticed the shift though, where these deer are starting to become more valuable. And what that tells me is that there's more interest. And the fact that there's more interest, kind of like I said earlier, opens the door that people who don't even hunt, who just like a good story, and maybe they like watching the deer in their backyard, they're gonna watch this and they're gonna be like, dang, I didn't realize how big and broad the whitetail world is. Because yeah, I mean, okay, there's hunting, right? Dude, I always make a joke. It's like I love hunting deer, but I can't wait to get to heaven and just hang out with deer. Like that's literally a goal. And for me, it's like I look at the deer down here and I'm like, man, I remember every single, step it took to get to this point where these deer are on the wall. But I also remember watching them on the cameras. I remember watching them in the stand because, one of the deer over here, I let him walk the day before I shot him. And it's like, I remember what you did. There's so much more to it than, oh, yeah, I've got a buck on the wall. And I think people that aren't in the space kind of need to realize that, the time that we spend, the work that we put in, it gets lost. And you can't fully do that in a YouTube video. I know Lee did it with his Ohio deer. It was also a 2 hour long video. Not many people will sit down and watch that. I mean, obviously their numbers show that people will, but those were probably all hunters. But like the average person's not going to be like, oh, a 200 and what was he? A 212-inch Ohio buck. I wonder what that's about. And then sit down for
Mm.
2 hours and watch it. But with a story like the General, where you're going in depth from day one to now, it's like I think anybody would be interested to hear that story. So
Well,
The vision
let me
y'all
put
have,
this in
I'm for it.
perspective. Yeah, dude. Let me put this in perspective too. This is what I have a very unique origin story, and maybe not in a storytelling fashion, but it's I didn't even know my dad was like well known until I was like almost 30.
Yeah.
I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Montana, and I hunted and shed hunted and fished like a fool. Like that's all I did. That's all I cared about. And all I knew was that my dad was really good at hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that. It's crazy. Like I'd go out in the woods with him and I didn't know anything about his background, but I knew I'm like, I can't hang with him. You know, he just sees stuff. He notices
Yeah.
things. He picks up on everything that I'm like staring at him, waiting for him to tell me what's going on around us. But the
Yeah.
reason I say all that is there's a different mode of enjoying the outdoors. And this goes to what you're saying about like people wanting to watch. So when I moved out of Montana 7 years ago, first place I moved was right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And everybody's like, well, tell me, were you a hunter? You a deer hunter and all this stuff? I felt so compelled to be like, there's so much more to the time and the experience and what it means.
Yeah.
Dude, I've had God moments. I've sat out there in the wildest places that feel like I might as well have gotten dropped off on the moon. You
Yeah.
know, it wasn't about the deer or filling the tag. It There was something deeper there. And so when it now fast forward to telling these stories, this is a weird double-edged sword for me because like I gotta share big deer, but I don't want that picture of that like 240 to be the defining thing where people goes, oh, there's just another big one,
Yeah.
there's another great one. They don't know, like these old stories are so incredible. They're so incredible.
Yeah.
And the big deer is just the end product of the story. It's not like, and as I mean, obviously, like some of those giants are so smart and stealthy and
Mhm.
elusive, and you know, I mean, some of the stories that I've heard of some of these big deer, I didn't even have to see the picture till the end. I didn't care because the story was so awesome. I'm like, I don't care if this thing looks like this. When I hear this story, like, and then you see it later and it's a giant, and you're
Yeah.
like, amazing, but it's not about that. And one other thing, I did say this on the Legacy Through Land podcast, but man, we are at a very pivotal time in storytelling because as millennials, or you might be, are you a Gen Z or a millennial?
95, so millennial, I think. I think I'm at the
No,
tail end of it.
you must be. Yeah, I don't remember I know it starts in like 83.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know.
you
I'm a
might be.
human being. That's all I ever tell anybody.
You're like, I
I
have a
don't know.
soul and feelings, and um, but but the millennials, which I was born 87, millennials are the only generation that actually grew up without the technology
Yeah.
and then became in adulthood and had the technology. They're the
Hmm.
only generation that saw both sides. Because everything before me, 70s, 60s, 50s, they had the radio,
Yeah.
and then, but the generation after me, they grew up with the technology already.
Yeah.
They came up and it was just a normal thing. So like the millennials were the only ones that actually saw significant life with it and without it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we're at this crazy time now. Like print media is dying. Man, the magazines, all that stuff, it's unless they go virtual, they're going to be dead in
Yeah.
you
I
know, the
mean,
next.
I think that's why I'm so excited about what you guys are doing because you're sort of bridging the gap, right? Like
Mhm.
you're showing you're using the technology that we have nowadays to show the stories that happened like with the general
Mhm.
60, 70 years ago. I mean, the general story is almost 70 years old, you
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
So it's like because I do remember a time, back when before cell phones were even a thing. And I do remember a cord phone. Like my phone was not cordless in my house for the first, I mean, probably 10 years of my life,
Right.
and it's funny because like I'll tell my daughter about it now and I'm like, "Hey, do you know what a CD player is?" And she's like, "No, what's that?" I'm like, "You remember that DVD player you had when you were little? It was like that, but you could carry it and you can actually listen to music." She's like, "Wait,
Right. Right.
you mean it wasn't on your phone?" I'm like, "No, our phone was connected to the wall." And she just looks at me like I've got three heads. I'm like, "Yeah, you have absolutely no idea. This little phone that you've got, your iPad, your smart TV, like this didn't exist." And she's like, "How did you even survive?" I'm like, "Dude, we went outside." I was like, we
That
just
was my only
did,
house rule. They were like, "You guys can't be in here."
Yeah.
My brother and I were like, "Oh, we live in the middle of nowhere in Montana." They're like, "Yeah, you can't be in the house."
Yeah. They're like,
Like,
go play with the grizzly bears. You'll be fine.
well, okay, well, I guess I'll go outside then
You hear
for
a wolf howl,
how
come
long? The
home.
whole day? Okay. Like,
It's just
um,
crazy though, man. Like that's one thing that I know you guys are doing that I'm really excited for because I think a lot of people that are, early 20s and their teens, even in their 30s, like I am, I mean they might not remember that stuff. We've gotten so accustomed to what we have now that,
mhm.
you're going to be showing like, dude, you need to know the history. And when they watch this, they're going to be like, wow, it really was like a completely different time.
It was,
So,
brother. You know what? I'll tell you what. You know what brought me the most joy of the whole year last year? Well, I guess this year. Um, I've been led to believe for the longest time that the younger generation doesn't care about the stories and stuff.
yeah.
Dude, we took the general to the Iowa Deer Classic this year, and it was 4 straight days of just 12-year-olds to like 15-year-olds that like I'm not kidding. Every other kid came up and they're like, I saw you on Seek One and the General 1959, and we you did this, and this was came out of Nebraska and Sergeant Nebraska, and like it was, dude, it meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
I left there and I was like, that was the thing that I left and was like, this is bigger than what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought that it was just carrying on the legacy, but it's actively being
It's
consumed
being,
and absorbed
yeah.
by.
You're writing the story still. The
Oh my
legacy is
gosh.
still going, bro. Like that's the thing is I had a thought while you were saying that is like I can see, you know, when we're in our 80s, which you'll probably be that you'll be there before me, but regardless.
How dare you?
Look, I'm only 10 years younger than you, all right? I won't be that far behind. But I can see when we're in our older ages looking back, and I'm not putting this, I hope this doesn't put pressure on you because I don't mean it to, but this just should tell you how like important I think what you guys are doing is. I think when we're older, we're gonna look back at now and be like that telling these stories and getting these kids interested and Seek One is obviously going to be a part of that because I mean everybody watches them, right? And Lee, if you're listening, thank you for all you guys have done. But I can totally see what you're doing right now be what brings the youth into it because they see these deer, they hear these stories, they see what you guys are all doing, and they're going to want to be a part of it. Because the thing is, the beautiful thing about deer is there will be another general one day.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Somebody somewhere with the technology that we have and the cell cameras, somewhere there's going to be a buck that makes it through and someone's going to kill him or someone's going to find some sheds and it's going to be their generation's version. You know what I'm saying? And there's going to be kids that want to be the ones to find those sheds or kill that deer. And then
Mhm.
100 years from now, there's going to be another deer story that's like, dude, this guy, he found this, and there was pictures on Facebook back when it was a thing, and you know,
Back when,
yeah,
yeah, back when,
yeah, back when they used computers before we had the chips in our brain. Like it's going to be their generation's version, and I think what y'all are doing is sort of opening the door for them to be like, hey, come in and see what it was really like, way
Mhm.
back in the day. And it's just so cool to me, man. Like I can't wait to be that old and look back and be like, wow, what y'all did really it in my opinion, it's helping save hunting. I really think it is. So
Well, it's an honor to hear that, and um, if I can be so, I I get a lot of the like, you're walking in your dad's
no.
shoes kind of thing. Here's what I told my dad. I said, look, you lit a torch, and what you did cannot be replicated.
No.
All I did was like get handed the torch,
Hmm.
and my life's mission is like, if I can positively carry that thing wherever I'm supposed to carry it and then give it to the next person. I'm not like, there's no ego involved in this at all. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, I'm so honored and humbled. Dude, 5 years ago, I sold furniture for a living, and I didn't even like have a presence.
Yeah.
It just like, it's like God just was like, you're gonna go do this. And it just happened. So I'm just thankful to be here, and I want to positively contribute to it in any way I can. And actually, while we're here, dude, I got the knife, I got a replica of the knife handle shed here.
Uh-huh.
I got to show you this.
Okay.
You're gonna freak.
He's getting something cool, guys. Just so there's no dead space. What I'm looking at currently is the general on the wall. It's not as distracting as it was last time, I think, because it's farther away. But um, man. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, cool.
Dude, so do you want to see potentially the biggest typical deer that's ever lived?
Yes.
This is the this is the knife handle shed from Iowa.
My Lord. Is that? How many points are on that thing?
He's a typical 7,
7.
but he nets 105 and 7/8, I think.
Dude, all right, Cody, look, man. That one shed is bigger than the buck behind me. That's crazy.
So Klaus the Breck replicated the other side years
Yeah.
ago just to do like so they could make it, and he was a clean like 220. But the story is he's called the knife handle. My dad bought this shed many years ago. It's called the knife handle shed because the farmer that found him cut the other side up into pieces to make knife handles out of. And so I think Matt Beard, the antler collector, Matt Beard owns the cut piece, and I think it's cut off to like there. So he's got this something like that. He doesn't have any of the stuff, but
Yeah.
this is by all measures the craziest typical that is I've ever seen in my life. And um, here's a crazier story. So get this. So this shed, I won't say names, but I know someone that offered $60,000 for that shed. And then
For
the guy
one shed.
for that shed, yep. And one of
Oh,
the biggest typicals in the history of the world. And then apparently the guy that owns it said he would never sell it. And his son said that like when the day comes when my dad's not around, I would sell it. I don't Doesn't mean as much to me, but like I would never do it while he's alive. And then the dad is suffering from dementia. So someone in the antler community recently went and visited him and said, "Hey, can I just see it? Can I just see the shed?" He
yeah.
brings it out, and they figure out that what he brings out is a replica. So somebody, so
No.
the biggest typical in the world is missing. Somebody went in there and replaced it with a replica and took the real shed, and we don't know where it is anymore. But that's,
Dude, what?
and he had a replica sitting on his mantle for a long time, and he didn't even know.
Dude, that's heartbreaking.
I know.
Oh my God. How? You're saying somebody might have broken his house and that's
But
in
he's suffering from dementia, and so somebody took advantage of
that.
that.
Jeez, dude. That's horrible. See, and that now brings up the dark side of deers or
The
deer hunting.
dark side, brother.
The dark side of deer selling, shed, just all of that, which I mean, I'm not going to go too far into it. We all know that big deer make people go crazy, right? I mean, I had the
They make
biggest
people
buck I've
do.
ever seen show up on camera the other day, as far as on this property I hunt, and I still look at that picture, right? But dude, that sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
man.
well, it's like that, or you look at the general with the stickers cut off. You look at the Minnesota mystery buck, the Sal Aaron's buck.
Yep.
Josh also owns that deer now, but that is another like high two teens typical, and there's like seven little, you know, button points on the back of one of them that were all trimmed off. And so,
Ugh.
and there's only one picture going back to like the 40s
Yeah.
that shows those points. Otherwise, we'd have no knowledge of it.
I wonder how many deer are actually like that. That are just like, and I think maybe we brought this up on the last episode, is like how many deer that are just so popular, just the world class deer, and they're still going to be world class, but it's not like someone captured a deer, molded this stuff on its head, and then killed it, right? But how many deer have been altered? It's one of those questions we'll never know, but it's just
You know, interestingly, I let me throw out a time period though. It's always happened for
yeah,
sure. But so in our history, up until the late 70s, nobody cared.
true,
There weren't enough people that cared. Maybe you'd have someone here and there that did it. Early 80s, North American Whitetail Magazine comes out. They start showcasing big deer. All of a sudden, people start becoming famous for the deer they killed or the sheds they found, and it becomes huge.
yeah,
So, like early 80s to the late 90s was this like, look at all these old stories, man. Most of these stories come from like that time frame.
yeah,
Now, push forward to whatever time it is when we start getting like everybody's got a cell phone and all that. Like nowadays, you can't do it. You're in
no,
a CJ Alexander situation. I'm not
yeah,
saying nobody could pull it off, but like nowadays, you better be if you
it's
want to do
hard,
deceptive things,
yeah.
you better be
Well,
on freaking
and,
point.
and it goes to the point too, like not, and I'm not saying deceptive things, but just big deer in general. I feel like Lee is I keep going back to Lee because he's kind of the prime example. He's killed what, 5 200s now, or something
Something
like
like
that
that.
in the
Yeah.
past 5 years. Seeing it in real time 60 years ago, that would have been like, dude, this is the best whitetail hunter ever. And I still, I mean, I hold Lee in the top three for sure, right? But it's like I feel like we're somewhat in a way the newer big bucks aren't hitting as heavy as the older ones do, if that makes sense. Like when I think about, watching Lee's Goliath video. I love the video. Love the deer. It's one of the coolest deer I've ever seen. But when I think about watching a video on the general or the hole in the horn, there's kind of it's almost like a mystery sort of feeling, like a mystique kind of feel, or a legendary allure to it, right? If I'm going to use artistic words, it's there's something different. It's a time that like I wasn't around for. I have no idea what the times were actually like, and there's something that hits a little bit different. Not to take anything away from Lee, because believe me, those
No,
deer
you're
are
right.
amazing. but
You're right.
it's different.
Well, let me put a interesting. Let me put a side perspective on this. When I did the Seek One, we did 2 episodes on the Seek One podcast,
Yeah,
and one of the guys asked me. He said, um, why do most of the deer that you talk about seem to be old, not anything?" And I was like, well, that's a really good question, actually. And my speculation would actually be that nowadays, if someone kills a giant, usually an antler collector buys it like the same week.
that's true.
Somebody comes up, it's like the Dustin Huff buck.
Yeah,
He sold it to Keith Snyder. So the whole story is he saw a deer, he killed it. Someone came up to him and said, "I want to buy it," and he sold it. And that was it. Now, it doesn't take away that it's one of the greatest typicals of all time.
yeah,
However, we don't have back in the day, there was something powerful to the fact that people didn't hold antlers in a high regard back then because it allowed these really cool stories to take place. Dude, Ben Barnhart found the general in 1959. It was not publicly known until 1995. Like nobody knew about the deer for all those 35, 36 years, you know, that like that doesn't exist anymore.
yeah,
Like the stories that go back, the Dell Austin buck and the Minnesota mystery buck, the James Jordan buck, like
yeah,
all these things, you listen to these stories and you're like, Jordan, the thing was the world record for all those years, and he never even knew
yeah.
until like he
He didn't
died
even have
without,
it,
yeah, and he died without knowing that it was nominated the world record.
which is really sad.
It's
That's
sad, but
really sad.
it's like nowadays the stories aren't the same. The reason that the CJ Alexander story is so big is because it's the first thing in recent history that was had people actually digging in and being like, dude, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah,
Because like, look, I won't take a thing away from Lee. Lee's a cold-blooded killer. He's one of the best whitetail hunters in the world.
yeah,
And he's doing a really good job of storytelling. But outside of him, man, even me, who I love whitetails, I don't know if I can sit through another somebody sitting in a tree stand on camera going like, "Hey, there's this deer I've been watching for 5 years. His name is, Big
Sparkles.
Bob,
Yeah,
and we're gonna see." Like that's cool. I still want the guy to be successful, but like that's not a story.
yeah.
That's not.
There's a mystery to it, you
Yeah,
know? Like
yeah.
getting to see people sit in the stand. And look, I'm gonna be part of that this year too, because I'm filming my hunts. But I I I do completely agree that like when I see those older deer stories, I imagine what it was like. Because I don't know.
Mhm.
We don't have a video of it, you know? And you look at the deer and you're like, God, dude, what did it take? What was that like to see that 300 and 50-inch deer walk in or whatever it is, right? And
Mhm.
you just will never know. You can look at the deer and speculate all you want, but you're never truly going to know. And I think the only thing like with the CJ stuff, it's unfortunate, but the only reason that that buck was even as popular as it was is because people thought that he was poaching and it came out that he was. Now imagine if
Well,
it
it's one of the
wasn't.
biggest deer in Ohio ever.
Well,
Like, I mean,
yeah, yeah.
it's a
I'm just saying,
mega.
like, imagine that he wasn't poaching, that he didn't poach it, and it was all free range, everything was legit. Yeah, it'd still be a really talked about deer, but I don't think it have I don't think it'd have the same level of notoriety that it does, you know?
That's totally true. Yeah, I think
So
you're. I
we're
that's
gonna have to get to a place where we can still film these things, but maybe it's not the same, all right, we're on sit 55. It's like, oh my Lord, dude, how many times? You know what I'm saying? And I get it. I mean, I've gone after deer plenty where I'm like, all right, I'm on sit number God knows what. But it's the mystery's gone, you know? And
yeah.
I mean, what's bad too is like, I'll bring up the Creek Kings thing. I don't know if you've been following that or not, but like that right there actually is an interesting story because if you ever watched any of their videos, That deer was poached. Every single deer that they had on their YouTube channel was poached. And it's like, it- why is that what we're now gravitating towards is like the crazy stories rather than, you know, the buck that was killed down in South Georgia that was 211 inches. There's never been a 200 down there before. I want to hear more about that. Yeah, it sucks these guys were poaching. They used, Kentucky tags on an Ohio deer where they were hunting in a freaking what was it, like a game, not a game preserve, but it was you couldn't hunt where they were hunting is my point. And the story's nuts, but I'd rather hear about something that was legal, that was taken the right way, not everybody diving in on, 20 plus deer that were poached. Yes, it sucks, but those guys should be in jail, no hunting rights, and throw the book at them. But let's talk about the stuff that's actually done correctly, not solely focused for months and months and months on a poaching case like that. You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree. We
So
just so what I think that we're, and I don't mean to go way out in left field on this, but
that's
what
what
I
we do.
think that what we're talking about comes back to the storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, the reason that people pay attention to stuff is it's like, I remember when CJ Alexander was all over everything and everybody's like, yeah, this story stinks. Like,
Yeah. Something ain't right.
yeah, something ain't right. And everybody was talking about it. I remember looking around and thinking, like, I watched this though because there's nothing else to watch.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, I want real stories. Um, you know who's doing a decent job? I shouldn't say decent selling them short. Dylan Gandhi that's making the search.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yeah.
you know, I did some stuff with him and but he's I think the reason that he's really taken off, he's just doing a really good job of telling stories.
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
he's
I
doing.
watched his video on the Florida buck that was, or the two Florida bucks that were like over 200. And I'm like, dude, I
Mhm.
didn't even know that was possible. I think one of them was like a 233. I'm like, how in the world? Like that type of stuff's cool. And you're right. The story is to me at least what matters. I mean, and again, going back to the Seek One guys, 'cause they tell a great story. Don't get me
They do.
wrong. I've been waiting all year. I heard from somebody or saw somewhere that Lee killed a giant again in Ohio or something. And I'm like, drop the video. And they haven't done it yet. And so it's like, I want to see it, but that that is like the mystery side of things. You hear the rumor and then you
Hmm.
don't see it. And you're like, okay, where is it? You know what I mean? You know it's coming, but when? And when am I going to get to see this? Because I do watch all their stuff. I love their stuff, but it doesn't hit the same as the general. It doesn't hit the same as the hole in the horn or any of these deer that we've talked about. And I think that's because you're going to see it. If Lee would just post a picture of a buck that he killed and there's no video, my first question is what happened? But I don't have to ask that because I can watch the whole thing. And I love it. I'm happy to see it, but at the same time, I do miss like the mystery. Like I've spent hours going through Boone and Crockett and the Antlers by Klaus website and just looking at all of these different deer that are on there. Like one of my favorite bucks, the James, or I don't know if it's James, but the Broder buck, the world's biggest muley. What happened with that? I want to know the story on the 355-inch mule deer. There's nothing out there. You might be able to read a little article, but that's it. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, that's what I want. I want to see those stories. So I know we'll get there, and you guys are doing a great job on it. Like you're taking these deer and telling the story. I just do wonder if, like, say 20 years down the line and you've got 5 or 10 documentaries out, will there be a deer from right now that you're like, hey, we're coming out with the story on this? I just don't know if that's going to be possible with YouTube and everything else. Unless someone gets lucky. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know. There's probably a guy alive right now. He might be listening to this that kills the next world record non-typical and doesn't film it. And there you go. But if an antler collector buys it, then what? I mean, the story stops there.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, man. I've actually never thought about like the future of deer in this capacity before. I didn't think we were going to get here. I really didn't.
Well, dude, I just can't help but think. that w- I never thought, because I've always, no pun intended, but I've always like idolized the the greats and the people
Yeah.
that came before, and I almost looked at them like, oh, there's something cut from a different cloth, like they're
Yeah.
different, they're other. I never thought that we would get to 2026 and I'd be sitting here going like, whitetails are crazy underrepresented on all platforms.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd say that, but like people will go like, hey, Lee Ellis is the best at doing what he does. And I'd be like, A, you're right. But B, nobody else, there's no competition. Like there's no
Yeah.
who who else is doing something like he's in a category by himself. And it's just crazy to think about, like, my dad the other day goes, hey, why do you think your social media has been so successful? And I go, because I'm not the focal point of it. Like
Yeah.
it's about deer.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me. The only thing that my page has to do with me is it's got my name on it, but the rest of it is about deer
Yeah.
and highlighting that. It has nothing to do with me. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be the best hunter in the world or the best shed hunter. I'm not making any claims to being the biggest expert in the world. I'm just sharing the deer and the stories.
You're just trying to be the world's best documentarian on deer.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but even until we did this general film, man, when we actually put together $1 million to make this film, up until that started, I was like, I never thought this was a reality. I
Yeah.
never thought that we could do this. And then once it took, dude, it actually took us, like, I probably shouldn't even say this, but like the umpteen thousands that it takes to go do random things. Like, we got
Yeah.
Trent Ellis in the film, and they came back and they're like, oh, it's going to cost, and I won't say the number, but it's going to cost multiple commas and zeros to get him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're,
It's gonna
and to
cost
put him in,
something.
the film. And we're like, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Done.
It's
Got
so
him.
crazy.
You know,
See, man, you should have texted me back, Cody. I'd have been, you know what? Give me a Chick-fil-A sandwich. We'll make it happen.
dude,
Like,
you drive a hard
telling you, bro.
bargain. You drive
Telling
a
you,
hard
bro.
bargain.
Not like I pull much weight, but hey, I'm here to help. No, I mean, all joking aside, like I think that is one thing about this side of our space that not a lot of people hear. I mean, everybody's all like, "Oh, well, you can just buy a camera and go film." Okay, cool. But what's the production gonna be like? I mean, I will say Seek One's production is better than almost anything I've seen out there. I think the top three in production would be Seek One, Midwest Whitetail, and Heartland Bowhunter. Those three are the best produced shows on YouTube that I have personally ever seen. And
Mhm.
so, like, to get to that level, it costs money. And people, I guess, don't think about that, right? But like, I think again, what going back to like what you were saying, a few years ago, you didn't think this would be a reality, dude. Maybe it's just me, but like I've gone from the top of your Instagram all the way down to the bottom because I love looking at big deer, and I now looking back can see sort of the route of how you got to this because what you're doing is you're sharing history on these deer that a lot of people don't even know about. And a lot of people might even see like the hole in the horn and then that I forget the name. The Jaime buck or Hyman, not Hyman. What's the one that I was like, "Oh, that's the deer I'm talking about."
Oh, Helge Imanson.
Yeah, that. I don't I still don't
Yeah.
know how to say his name. That guy. Um, I see that and I see the hole in the horn and you again, people will be like, "Oh, it's the same deer." And it's like, it's actually not." And then you can sort of explain like why they're different, whatever. But seeing the history that you've put out on your page and how vocal you've been, it's sort of where else would you have gone? You know what I'm saying? Like when you share history on stuff, eventually documentaries and stories in video format come from that. Look at the History Channel. They don't run 24 hours of Hitler stuff just because they have it. Like they're doing it because it's history and people need to learn about that. It's the same thing. And I don't mean to relate what you're doing to Hitler. I am sorry about that. First, it was either that or ancient aliens. All right. And we talked about
Fair
aliens
enough.
last week. So I just I don't know, man. It excites me. I'm big on history. I love, the history of things and the fact that now you guys are coming out with some deer stuff, especially the general is the beginning. Like sky's the limit, dude. I really can't wait to see what stories come out. I mean, one of the coolest stories, there was a guy, and you could probably tell me what deer this is, but there was a guy that was using a rack to scrape the bottom of a pond.
Yeah,
And
that was the
he shot.
Minnesota. That was the Sal Aaron's buck. That was the
Yeah, okay,
Minnesota
okay.
Mystery
That's what
buck.
I
Yeah.
thought. I'm like, how in the world? Who? Because to me, it's like I see a giant rack. I don't think, let me scrape up some seaweed with that. Let me go
Yeah.
till my field with this. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well,
But
dude, and not only that, Sal Aaron's poached that buck back in the 40s.
what?
And but he he lived in a farmhouse that still had dirt floors and he had like five kids. And the fish
Understandable.
and game official came over and knew that he poached it, but
Yeah.
saw that he killed it to like feed his family and didn't even write him a ticket. There's like you're doing what you're like surviving. Dude, this is like 5, 6 years after the Great Depression, And and then so
Crazy.
Sal, that rack sat around the house. Mind you, this thing grossed like 220.
Yeah, it is an absolute giant.
Yeah. And so first they let it sit around the property for like years and years, and they had an old pond in the back that had all these lily pads, and his kids actually threw it out on the end of a rope and drug the pond with it with the tractor, and then years later he mounted it and he made a homemade mount that had like styrofoam and packing peanuts in it and put it on the wall. So it's this really rugged looking thing. And the kids sat there with BB guns and shot it for the next like 10 years, just smoking this thing every day. And, it wasn't until Chuck Arnold came in and um, and bought it from him, gave him like 10 grand for it, like decades later.
Yeah.
And it was the most money that Sal had ever seen. And, but here's what's crazy. Sal was a dentist and had all these Dremel tools and all this stuff. And he's believed to be the one that cut all the kickers off of it. His deal was, I'll buy this deer for $10,000, but I want every picture you have of it. And
Yeah.
and so many years later, after the sale, somebody went back there and was like, "Hey, do you guys still have any pictures?" Sal Aaron's found one old black and white photo in a drawer that he forgot
Yeah.
and gave it to that guy, and it showed the like seven kickers that are no longer on the deer.
That's freaking crazy. See, this is what I mean. The stories, man. The stories. I could listen to this all day. Like, that's unbelievable. Wasn't there one? What deer was it that was involved in the mob?
Well, so there was rumor first, same deer. So
Oh,
here's
okay.
what happened. The dates don't line up, but the Sal Aaron's ranch in Minnesota there had a cabin on the back of it, and he did let Al Capone, when he was on the run from the law, use that cabin back and forth. So like the mob side of it was real. Like Al Capone stayed on the Minnesota Mystery Bucks home, but Sal killed that deer at a different time frame, and that actually came out on, I think actually on Dylan Gandy's channel.
That's
They
that's
did
what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
they did a video of it, but it like when the deer was killed and when Capone lived are mismatched by. So he did know the guy. He
Hmm.
did go to the place, but the deer wasn't
There.
there at the same time.
Got it.
You know, made for a cool story. And actually, dude, he called me before he made that video, and I actually was like, "Hey, man, I don't know about the dates and times of this yet. So before you," and he just went and made it. And then
Yeah.
afterwards, when people were like, "Hey, these dates don't line up," he wrote me and he was like, "Oh shoot, I
Yeah.
I didn't." I was like, "Look,
Should have
it's
waited.
it's tough when you go back because you don't always know."
Yeah.
And boy, like there's stuff that I heard like, okay, it was this. And then it was like 10 years later, we find out one piece of information. It's like, okay, this changes the whole story because this takes us back to that.
Mhm.
And dude, I mean,
Well,
this is part of it. We're trying to piece together history too.
yeah,
And it's crazy that all these whitetail people are so freaking private.
I
Everybody
know that's
doesn't want to
wild.
tell anybody anything.
Well, and it's
So
even like the hole in the horn is one of the most interesting stories to me because like where did the hole come from? I've heard 22, I've heard wire, I've heard a screw went through it in the bar. It's like, dude, are we ever gonna know? Because the wire thing doesn't make sense to me. I'll admit that. I'm like I don't know. Maybe, but I don't think so. The
I
22,
think the hole already existed. They put a wire through it. Now I do remember they said that it was too heavy on that one side and the mount would turn.
yeah. But
That's
then
why
they
they
say
put,
something like the hole came from because I know Legendary Whitetails in their video they said that they claimed they knew how the hole got there. And I want to say it wasn't the wire in the bar or what was holding it up. I think they said something like when they found it, um, it it got hit by a train, but it was stuck in like a fence or something, and that the
it was
wire,
tangled up on the underside of like a mild fence.
yeah,
So there's military property on the other side. So it was a military fence there
hmm
with open cut wire on the bottom. And I don't think the deer was fully dead when he got hit by the train and it thrashed. And actually I asked my dad about this. Again, my dad gave him the name, the hole in the horn.
yeah.
Um, I said, what like do you think that a wire like that could go through it? I said it doesn't make sense to me because typically with antler, even in velvet, and he goes, look, if it was through the he said if it was through the main beam or some of the key tines, he
Yeah,
said I don't think it would have. But if you've ever seen a deer in full velvet, when like they get a teardrop like drop tine,
yeah,
that stuff is not as solid as like a beam or a tine. It's
yeah,
almost some of them are so soft when they're still in velvet that they're like they don't even have marrow in them and stuff. They're just like a you
like
know
jelly or something.
yeah. And so he's like, could that happen? Yes, there. And I know this. I got to go back and find the stories, but he knew two different people that were there when it was found, and they both said the wire was through the drop
Wow.
from
Okay.
the
Well,
fence.
this is why I brought it up because I don't know. I that's wild. And so like with that deer, and I know we're kind of running a little long here, but I have to ask you this, and
Sure.
then we could wrap it up after that. But the so that buck, that is probably the second giant deer that I saw when I was a kid, right? I remember watching some hunting show on either TNN or Outdoor Channel. I was like 4 or 5 years old. There was a BB gun ad that I think Legendary, it had to have been Legendary Whitetails, because I know that's like their deer logo or whatever it was at one point, where there was a BB gun commercial and like the gun itself had the whitetail on there. And so that always stuck with me, right? So then as I'm getting into it, I'm learning about the deer. I see it. I was like, oh, I remember that deer. The crazy part to me is it's number two in the world, but isn't there some speculation that it shrunk because it was in a bar, there was smoke, it was all this other stuff that it probably could have been upwards of 350 instead of the, what is it, 328, I think.
328.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this much. It absolutely shrunk because it spent 5 decades in a smoky saloon, you know. But, dude, I don't know if you ever heard this story, but when my dad went there to Kent, Ohio,
hmm
Fred Goodwin, who do you know that black and white truck bed photo with it's like considered the best old school truck bed, giant whitetail dude standing in the snow with a deer laying in the back.
Very vaguely.
The
Yeah.
silver, the buck of Silver Ridge. Look that up when we're done. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But that's Fred Goodwin. But he was like the first ever antler collector that was doing it on a big scale, and his collection went back to um, late 1800s.
Oh, wow.
But he owns the Hill Gould buck, Flora Campbell. He killed the Silver Ridge buck. He's got all the. But my dad bought his entire collection right before he started North American Whitetail, and there was 2,000 heads in the collection. And back then, Fred was the only one doing it. So like literally, someone would be like, "Hey, there's a new state record in Kansas." Fred would just drive there and buy it because no one cared.
That's
Like, and he
crazy.
would pay like $15 for it. Like,
Dude was ahead of his time.
yeah. And so
Wow.
with the with the hole in the horn, Fred learned about it and he drove up to Kent, Ohio. This would have been probably late 60s, early 70s. And he drove up there and they were like, "Yeah, we want $500 for it." And he was like, "That's more than I've ever paid for a deer." And he said no.
Yeah.
So he had a chance at it. So then my dad goes in like 79, 80. And but this is where this gets cool. He goes in there, he sits down in the bar, has a beer, gets his tape out. They took it off the wall, and he scored it at 346 and change. So then the owner of the club comes up and goes, "Well, what'd you get?" And my dad in his head is like, "This is the new world record."
Yeah.
And he said, "I don't want to say." Like, he just said, "I'm not 100% sure." So my dad buys it though, and the guy wanted $12,000 for it then. So my dad gave him 12 grand and drove in his Bronco, drove the hole in the horn back out to Montana. And actually, the guy, Phil Wright, who had written the like prominent scoring book on being, he was a BNC scorer. He
Mhm.
actually worked at the University of Montana. My dad took the hole in the horn to him, and Phil also scored it and came up with 346. And my dad got like 346 and 6/8, and Phil got 346 and like 3/8. And then they put it on the cover of North American Whitetail magazine preeminently without checking.
Official. Yeah.
New world record. BNC did not like that. And they came to him directly and said, "Hey, you don't get to
You
say
can't
something's
claim
a
that.
world
Yeah.
record. Only we can do that." And then they end up basically scoring the hole in the horn as a 4x5, and they dinged him for that symmetry on the one side, but the one thing had 18 inches of non-typical points and stuff. So
Yeah.
they took him from a 346 to a 328. And there was strongly written letters. Multiple people at BNC got fired. There was like hate mail going back and forth between my
Yeah.
dad and BNC. And actually, dude, to this very day, the guy that was the president back then of BNC, who's in a assisted living now, I know someone personally that went and interviewed him, and he was like, "Yeah, we weren't gonna let that like asshole Dick Idol just declare a world record. We're like we weren't gonna let him have it. They said it.
It's like the Johnny King situation before the
Yeah,
King situation happened. That's so crazy. Because I mean, I look at the Missouri Monarch with the current world record, and I'm
and
like,
it's a
that's a
giant deer.
it's
Yeah,
huge. It's massive. But I'm like, man, the hole in the horn just looks to me
yeah.
like he would score more. And then you get the Minnesota Monarch that blows them both out of the water, and it's like, well, really, really,
I
where are we at
loved
with
holding
that?
that deer. I loved
Yeah.
holding that deer. That set is almost 11 pounds. Dude, side note, I want to get this out there because no one seems to know this. I posted this last year. Johnny King, it is now. I do think it two separate things here.
Yeah.
One, the shared base thing probably is real. However, they didn't start doing that until like the late 90s. So there's a lot of deer pre late 90s that definitely have shared base that didn't get scored as a shared base. So
Yeah.
it's not fair. it's an
See that?
incredible deer no matter what. But what a lot of people don't know, man, is that he shot it in the beam and it busted it into like I'll send you a picture. I've got
Yeah.
a picture of it in like four pieces. It shattered it. And so everybody gets hung up on this common base thing. They had to put that other side back together.
Yeah, I do remember hearing Johnny talk about that on a podcast one time where they had to repair it and they let them repair it, which that's great, but it's like I don't know, that whole thing is just weird, man. I mean, to me, I've looked at the picture of the deer. I've speculated my own, I've seen common base or shared base bucks before. To me, it kind of looks like it's not, but I'm not a scorer. I'm just a guy,
Right.
bro. You know what I'm saying? By the
Yeah.
way, that freaking Fred Goodwin buck, how is that not the typical world record? I mean, my God, dude, they don't make them like that anymore. I
I think
mean,
he's close to 250. He's 240
look,
something.
I mean,
You know
that
what's
is,
funny is Fred was a guide and he actually killed it when he was guiding another guy. And then he ended up giving it to the guy and had first right of refusal. And like many years later, he wanted to get it back, but he couldn't.
yeah.
But you know what's cool, man, is I got a picture when he got reunited with it when he was like in his late 80s for the first time in his house. But I know a buddy up in Maine actually owns that deer now, as well as the Hill Gould and Fleur Campbell. But I've got pictures of it in his living room. It's a freaking monster.
I mean, that, I just, I can't even wrap my head around that, the size of that deer. I mean, when you see it in the back of the truck, how'd that deer even walk? I mean, that's,
Dude, is that not the best truck bed photo ever?
yeah, it
It
is.
has to be.
I mean, but see, so all right, you know what? I'm gonna cap this episode off with this. All right. I'm gonna
Give
ask you
it to
this
me.
question. I'm sure that you've probably been asked it before, but looking at these deer that we've been talking about, the general, the Goodwin buck, or what's that buck called again? The buck of Silver
It's
Ridge?
the Silver Ridge buck.
Silver
Yeah.
Ridge buck. Okay.
Fred good one. Yeah.
So all these giant deer, how like do you think back then, and I know this is kind of a really deep rabbit hole, but just do you think that the deer we have nowadays don't really grow like that anymore? Because I see giant bucks. I'll use Lee's deer as an example. They're
Hmm.
huge, but they're not that. And like I feel like we don't see that anymore. I know Lee Hur killed a 254 last year. That's probably the biggest buck I've seen get killed
Yeah, I
in the
love these
past few
buck.
years.
Yeah.
Like is it really that rare these days? Or is it just I mean, do you think we're gonna trying to think of how I want to ask this. Do you think we're gonna have deer like that in our generation? That we look at them
I
and we're like,
do.
how in the
I
world?
do. I do. I think so pressure has gone up, yes.
Hmm.
But like property management and cultivation of environment has gone up incredibly as well. Because
Sure.
there's some people that are like, are we killing more big deer now than we used to? And actually, as far as like total numbers, I actually think we probably are,
Yeah.
but not on public land.
True.
There's a lot of giants coming from cultivated and protected, land, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like if I owned 1,000 acres in Iowa, I would manage it.
You'd be doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as the what we'll call like organic deer,
Yeah.
I don't see as many. I mean, the crazy thing about most of those old stories were like, hey, it was the mailman. It
Yeah.
was this farmer was out like looking for a cow and he found the general.
Yeah.
And
Or
the
someone's first
phantom,
time ever hunting and they
yeah,
just got lucky. Like,
yeah. And you just don't hear as much of that nowadays. Now there's more people, I'm sure there's more people hunting, but um it's this is going to be really nerdy as far as deer go, but they look different
they
to me.
do. They
They
do.
don't there aren't deer that look like this.
That's what I was getting at. Cause like I see that picture and some of these other pictures that we've been talking about, and I'm like, they just don't look the same. It looks
Well,
like
let's say
some
this big non-typicals, we're going to see a lot of those.
oh yeah.
How
Yeah.
many giant typicals are we going to see? That I don't know. Like I know they're out there, but like when's the last time you just saw a mega super clean typical that was like world class?
Dustin Huff.
Huff, yeah.
I mean, really, his deer is the
Yep.
last one. So,
Yep.
granted, that's only 5 years ago, so it's really not that long. But if you think about it, what buck? I can't even think of, and maybe I just don't know, but I can't even think of a buck that would be close to that from
Yeah.
Milo Hansen to Huff. I'm sure there were a couple, right? You know, obviously, if the Ron Pola buck's real, then there you go. But even then, it's just like you don't see them much. And I just
Yeah.
wonder too, you know, even on my properties, you know, I've got, like I was telling you about the mini general, General Junior, right? He's a typical with two kickers. He was a 120-inch deer last year. He's probably 125 this year. He's not that much bigger. And he's
Hmm.
4 years old. I mean, I know he's four because I've been watching him for 2.5 years. He was 2.5 when I saw him. So, you know, or maybe that math ain't mathing. Hold on. Anyway, you get my point. I'm not good
Yeah.
with math. Don't throw
Yeah.
numbers at me. But yeah,
Carry the two. Yeah, I think that works.
I did fail math in 10th grade. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like I look at these deer and, you know, even being in Georgia, the deer that Lee and them have been killing the past couple of years, they don't, to me, look the same. Yes, there's more pressure. Atlanta is completely burnt out, without a doubt. But there's still gonna be a deer that makes it through. There's still gonna be something that is like gnarly looking, right? And I just do wonder, are we going to see a giant typical? Are we going to see a 350-inch world record? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know. I'm almost scared that those times are gone.
So somebody said, I won't even say his name because you would know it, but just someone told me something interesting. So like in the bailout in like 2006, when everybody was like losing their tail on
I know where you're going with this.
real estate,
Yep. I know exactly where you're going with this.
specifically Ohio,
Yep.
there was this thing where there were all these deer ranches that they basically couldn't afford to run them anymore, and the government told them like, hey, you got to put all these deer down, and all these people just said nope, and they just opened the gates and they let them all out.
Yeah.
They
It
let
happened here too.
tens of thousands of deer got released into the wild from these game farms,
Hmm.
and look at all the giant non-typicals that have come from Ohio.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. And like what do we do with that? But you're talking about them like looking different. And yeah, they're different.
Well, I also feel like looking at these deer, the racks, and again, this is from what I'm seeing, right? On my cameras, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'm seeing less, to me, the deer from the past are more, they have more mass. You know, I'd say Huff's buck is probably the most massive, you know, mass wise deer that I've seen in a long time. And Alexander's buck too, you know, it's that one to me is like a freaking dinosaur. I mean,
It really is.
I can't get over the fact of how big that deer is, but it's they just they look different. I don't know how to put it. Something about them is different than what it was 30 years ago, you know? And I just, like I said, I just wonder, are we going to see a change with all, because they did that in Georgia too. I was talking to my taxidermist last year and I asked him, I was like, hey, are there any high fence operations around here? And he was like, yeah, there's a few of them. And I was like, have you ever heard of them letting deer out? And he told me the same thing. He's like, back when, you know, we hit the recession, oh, quite a few of them were letting them out. And you can kind of see it. I mean, that granted, the most non-typical deer I've ever shot is the one that's behind me, but I've seen a few that are, you know, interesting. And you're like, that doesn't look right. You know, so I
Yeah.
just do wonder if the genetics now become so dispersed that we're just not going to get back to, you know, the massive 250-inch, you know, whatever Silver Ridge bucks that we had, you know?
Dude. And maybe it's also, dude, that they're so rare
Yeah.
anyway. I mean, there's if you even if you look through like legendary whitetails, man, there's that's a small handful still that are that big
That's
and
true.
that, you know. Is it time to wake up from Come here. It's time to wake up from me. Yeah, come here. Um, sure.
Good
Um,
morning. It's so
someone
funny.
just woke up.
I'm jealous.
But Dad, I want to watch SpongeBob. You want to watch SpongeBob? Okay.
SpongeBob.
Will you say hi?
Oh man. Hi.
You know who Sonic is?
Of course. Love
Sonic is
Sonic.
Sonic is a hedgehog.
Yeah. Have you seen him go supersonic before?
It was really fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're on a podcast right now, so yeah, Knuckles is fast too. All
Yeah.
right, give me 2 seconds. Can you lay up there, please? Nature of working and living in the same place.
Uh-huh. Hey, it's all good, man. Made my day. I gotta
Oh,
I gotta go probably pick mine up a little bit later too. I don't know. She might be staying at her grandma's again for the third night in
mm,
a row. So we've been living the I don't want to say bachelor life, right? But we've kind of just been kicking it. But
sure.
yeah, man. I mean, so I guess we'll wrap it up. You and I could probably go a lot longer, but
Well,
I
we'll do it again. We'll do it again soon.
yes, because there's a lot of deer that like I'm sure you know the stories of, and I'm like, Cody, enlighten me, right? Like, and one other thing too, before we do that, I will say like the mule deer side of things, because nobody knows those stories, right? There's like,
Dude,
what is it? What's his name? I know I love the guy on Working Class. He killed the cemetery buck. Devin. You know Devin Leonard?
wasn't the cemetery buck? Didn't it turn out to be poached?
No, no, no. So that's the Hollywood buck.
Oh, Hollywood. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
That's the Virginia deer, right?
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
talking
Okay.
about Devin's like 240-inch muley that
Oh
he killed.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like those stories, man. I'll listen to his story on that all the time. And it's
Yeah.
like you don't hear much about the Western side of things, you know?
Dude, you know what? Mule deer kind of because it's like anything else. Like in my home state of Montana, we got grizzly bears and Shiras moose and mule deer and mountain goats and bighorn sheep. You don't hear nearly as much about any of these other things because people don't have them in most of their most backyards, most
Yeah.
states. So, um, I'm a rookie. I'm dabbling in some big muleys now, but I'm definitely a rookie in that game. But it is super fascinating, and there are some like mega giants that like nobody knows about, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, like I heard a rumor that the Broder buck wasn't even 355, that they actually scored it over 400, but something happened and imagine that. A 400-inch mule deer?
Crazy.
I mean, good Lord, man. So that might be something to think about. But Cody, thank you for coming on, dude. I'm really excited to see this documentary series. I'm really bummed out that I'm gonna have to wait 3 months to finish it, but it is what it is. Um, so before we sign off of here, man, give everybody a shameless plug for me
Ooh, shameless plug for the film.
for everything. Where they can
For
find you,
everything.
what you got going on, how they can help support Original by God, which is your brand. Love the name. I love what you guys are doing with that. Yeah, just tell
You
the people
like
what they need
shameless
to know.
plug. I was like, Rompola is real. Um, the
That's another 3 hours that we're gonna go into.
um, yeah, man. So you can find me anywhere. Cody Idol. All my pages are called the same thing. So you can find me on any of the social channels. Check out the Idle Hour podcast. It's brand new. We're rookies, so don't hope too much of it. But hopefully you enjoy it. And yeah, the Antler Craze, America's $1 Million Deer. You can get episode 1 for $7 right now on our website, Original by God. And man, I'm really excited to share that. So I hope, man, it's like one of those bucket list life things that we just got to do. So I'm super excited to share it. I hope everyone enjoys it. And you know, I just put my kid in a podcast for the first time. So
Love the cameo, man. Awesome, dude. Well, thank you for coming on. I can't wait to see this stuff. And guys, remember, Christ is king. So go read your Bible and go shoot your bow.